Cities continue to burn across America while Democrats continue to ignore it. Nancy Pelosi goes full elitist, and we look at the deeper issue of race. My name is Sean Clinton, and this is the Guy on the Freedom Show. Alrighty, so I hope everyone is having themselves a great week. Happy Saturday. So I apologize for not having an episode out last week. I just had some technical difficulties with everything, but thankfully I think I solved it, so we should be able to post this one. Hoping you'll be listening to it. If you are listening to it, that means it worked. But anyways, so we do have a lot to get to today, so let's just jump right into it. So first we're going to start off with our COVID-19 update. So kind of to get an idea of where we stand right now. So as a whole, as in the country, cases continue to wind down. Although, the curve is like, we already reached our peak for the second time around, and it's going down every day. And as far as like individual states like Florida, Georgia, Arizona, California, all that, same thing, continues to go down, which is very good news. And the death rate continues to drop too. The number of deaths also is starting to kind of curve over and peak and drop and over, because of course deaths are always a lagging indicator for cases. So as you see kind of cases continue to wind down and everything, you start seeing the deaths kind of to do the same thing. So again, that's all excellent news in terms of kind of where we stand in terms of COVID. And what's very interesting about kind of where we stand right now is that, there's all this talk about a second wave coming in the fall or whatever, and it's going to be like a very horrible and dark period of time for America. But, really the data and the science shows we might not even get a second wave. At least for the parts that were hit the first time around. There might be some small areas that maybe get hit again, or get hit that didn't get hit the first time around. But on average, there's a possibility we might not even get a second wave. Even if we do, it will be very small. And that's because it's already pretty much ran through most of the kind of more populated areas of the country. So it might, where we might see a spike is more in rural areas that didn't really get hit the first time around. But even then, it's still going to be not as significant as a spike in deaths and cases as it has been. So that's very good news. And the biggest reason why for this is because we might have already reached herd immunity. And the reason why we've probably reached herd immunity is because of two factors. One, it already ran through population, and because of T cell immunity, which I've talked about many times on the show. T cell immunity, kind of how you develop it is like, say if you had a common cold over the past couple of years or so, because the common cold is a coronavirus, is a part of the family of the coronaviruses. But COVID-19 is obviously a new version of COVID or coronavirus. So when you get sick with just kind of common cold, your T cells kind of take genetic memory of it, and so with COVID-19, it kind of recognizes it, so it knows how to fight it. So that's why certain people don't even have symptoms. And as we learned, asymptomatic people don't. They can spread it somehow. I'm not fully sure how exactly they still spread it, but I guess through respiratory, like breathing or talking or whatever. That's one theory. But even then, that's not the main vector of transmission. It's actually pretty rare, according to some data and all that. So actually, the people who are spreading are sick, or as I would put it, actually pre-symptomatic, which is different. There's asymptomatic is when you don't develop symptoms at all, and then pre-symptomatic is before you get symptoms. And pre-symptomatic people are the ones who are spreading it more than asymptomatic people. So that's where kind of the confusion lies between all that. So there's a possibility that asymptomatic people don't even spread at all. But I mean, we'll find out. Find out soon enough, hopefully. But even with that said, as we see the results going down and everything, I mean, there's just still all this talk about that we should be closing down, shutting down again. Like Joe Biden has said that if he wins the election, he's going to possibly shut down the country again and mandate masks. That does not make sense. Especially, I'm looking at the chart right now. There's no reason why we should be shutting down again. I mean, seriously, look at New York. New York has about almost 0 deaths a day and barely any cases a day, and they're still shut down. California is the same exact way. They got kind of a little spike, but they're going down as well. Have not really opened at all. It just doesn't make sense. And one of the more kind of irritating parts about all this is really the hypocrisy of how people treat this. I mean, I'll get to what Nancy Pelosi did a little later in the show, but I mean, you got people in the streets crowded against each other and everything, but at the same time, people cannot go visit their loved ones in the hospital. So, which leads me to this one group on Facebook. So, there's this guy. His name is, I think, Steve Ryder. Steve Ryder, his wife got sick back in May, I believe. May or April. I mean, she got very sick and was sitting in the hospital. But, of course, he couldn't visit her due to COVID. He couldn't be with her at all. Even though he got tested for COVID, was tested negative, she got tested for negative for COVID. But they still wouldn't let him see her. And she ended up dying in the hospital alone without any of her loved ones around her. And I mean, just think about that. Like, say you have a loved one, your like grandma, mom, or wife, husband, or whatever. Like, just one of your loved ones in the hospital and sick, and you can't go see and be with them during that time, and they die in the hospital. And that's what probably the biggest problem is, that people. It's not good for you to be alone, especially when you're like sick or like injured or whatever in hospital like that. That's not a good thing. And so Steve Ryder, who is rightfully ticked off about this, he started a group called the Never Alone Project, and it's basically an advocacy group that's basically pushing the healthcare, the hospitals and all that, to allow people to go visit their loved ones in the hospital. And they have successfully done this in Colorado, I believe. The hospitals fought it off the best they can, but Ryder and his team won, and loved ones were able to go visit their people were able to visit their loved ones. So it doesn't make sense why people can't go visit their loved ones, and especially if they're tested negative for COVID. I mean, you can wear a mask. I'll definitely surely wear a mask if I still see someone, my loved one or whatever, or my family members or something. So, it just it's all irritating. So, good on Steve Ryder for starting this group. Definitely give it a look at. You can join it. It's a public open group, so you can join it if you want to, especially if you have a similar story to his. Definitely think about joining then. And, it's on Facebook. Again, it's called the Never Alone Project. So, alright, so that's enough of the COVID-19. So I'm sure, we're going to continue talking about COVID-19 for months on this point until it finally dissipates completely and everybody forgets about it. But anyways, now let's move on to kind of the more bigger issues facing the country right now. So, riots and looting continue apace all throughout the nation. As you saw with last week or so, there was a lot of riots in Kenosha and all over the place. And really what triggered this is due to there's this guy named Jacob Blake, who, by the way, had a warrant. He had a search warrant or a arrest warrant out for him for sexual assault and domestic abuse. So what happened was that he went into, this is allegedly, by the way, but still, I mean, again, it's allegedly, but he went into someone's house who the woman that he sexually assaulted before, and he sexually assaulted her again, allegedly. So he went there, sexually assaulted her, and then stole her keys, and then that's when she called the police on him. And then, the police got there, tried to dissolve the situation, and then, which led to this. So this is a video that someone caught the police trying to subdue Jacob Blake. And here's what the video looked like. Right here.
Get my son! Get my son! Get my son! Get my son! Come here, TJ! TJ! You are bogus! This bogus! Mom, get back! Mom! 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 You have to get back!
So yeah, I mean, that's just part of the video right there. So now let's move on to kind of a video. So you heard gunshots at the end of that video. So here's what actual kind of, this is the video that went all around social media and everything. So here's what that looked like right here. So here's the video. So, as you can see from both videos, this guy, Jacob Blake, was resisting arrest, fighting off the police. He was tased by the police, but still was fighting them off. Then he got up and started walking to his car. And it turns out there was a knife in the driver's side of the floorboard that he was trying to reach to. So the cops shot him for his trouble, and it was a justified shoot. But of course, as you see from the video, it's a white cop and a black man. So this naturally sparked an entire media outrage over like, oh, another white cop shot a black man, showing that this country is still systematically racist and that cops are hunting down blacks every day. It's simply not true. Again, this was a justified shot. Shoot. And, I mean, this guy is a sexual assaulter. He just sexually assaulted someone, allegedly, just that very day. That's why the cops are calling on him, and he had a warrant out for sexual assault and domestic abuse. And then he fought off the police and tried to reach for a knife. So you can't tell me that this was not... What was the cop supposed to do? Just let them, like the guy stab him to death? That's not how this works. The police are not trained to just let someone with a knife or weapon kill them with. That's not what they're trained to do. They're trained if their life is threatened, especially after they find them off like that, they have every right to shoot the person. Every right. And you saw this with the Richard Brooks here in Atlanta, where the guy was fighting off the police and took the taser, tased one of the cops that ran away, turned around and tried to tase one of the other cops, and he was shot for his trouble. So, and that was, again, also another media outrage over the shooting and everything. So naturally, this led to more riots all throughout the country, especially in Kenosha. So here's actually a small little clip from Kenosha. This is a car dealership, and there's actually a church right next to it that was in flames that night. Here's a little what that looked like. As you can see, that the car is burning and everything. It's crazy. And almost the church that's right next to it almost caught a fire. It got partially burned itself. So this is all crazy right here. All crazy. So here's a little bit of the picture of the aftermath. Pictures from the aftermath. So here's the dealership right here. See, all these cars are just burned to a crisp. The actual building got a little burnt down, a little burnt. The church is still okay, but I think it did get a little on the chart itself. And here's some more pictures of it. Yeah, it's very messed up that what happened there. It's just absolutely insane that this happened, in Kenosha and also in Portland to, I think, here in Atlanta, there was some protesters that led to violence in the streets. It's all insane. And the media wants to kind of continue to drive the narrative. The reason why this continues to happen is really because the media keeps driving the narrative that cops are waking up every day looking to shoot a black person. And when it's just not true whatsoever. I mean, the data doesn't even support it. I mean, you seriously think that every cop in the country is waking up saying, I'm gonna go shoot a black person today? That's not what's happening. In pretty much almost every instance that we've seen recently, this one, the Rayshard Brooks one, has the Michael Brown, a situation where the shot was justified, but the media ignored the facts of the case, and led to this massive outrage. And really, they continue to ignore the facts of the case. They wanted to continue to ignore the facts of everything about this. They try to actually say that all the riots are not happening. It's just all a figment of your imagination. The real violent people are the Trump supporters that are causing violence, which leads us to this guy named Kyle Rittenhouse. So he's a 17-year-old guy who came from out of state. I forget where he was. I believe it's Indiana. He came from out of state. He's actually a trained medic. So he came there. I'm actually there to protect private property and to help anyone who was injured, even the protesters and rioters and everything. So here's a little bit of the video of him explaining why he was there.
What are you doing out here? Obviously you're armed and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up?
So people are getting injured and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
So again, the media narrative that they're trying to push is that this guy came there looking with the intent to kill people. That's not the case. He was there to protect businesses and to provide medical assistance to anyone who was hurt. And you can say that, I mean, maybe he shouldn't have been there since he is 17 years old or whatever. I mean, you can argue that. I understand the argument. But at the same time, I mean, he was doing a good thing. He was doing a really good thing because the cops are handcuffed there. They can't really do much themselves. So, I mean, it's up to private citizens to take matters in their own hands, to their own hands. And if Democrats hate it so much, just let the cops do their job. Let them clear the streets of the rioters and everything. So, I'm going to continue on with this Kyle Rittenhouse and all the riots and stuff. But first, you got to go over to YouTube or the God of Freedom blog to check out the rest of the episode. So not only you get the entirety of this episode, more about the riots, and it's closely acting as an elitist, completely elitist, while everyone else is forced to follow the rules, but also kind of more the deeper issue of race of this in this country. And also, I got some good news. I got a new podcast hosting site. It's called Anchor. So that's where all my podcasts will be going from now on. So if you listen on like SoundCloud, Google Play, or like I think that's iHeartRadio and Stitcher or whatever, after episode 57, and on, so from episode 58, today's episode, to on, it won't be available on those sites anymore, but is still available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and also many more that's soon to come, hopefully. And so definitely check those out. Definitely check out Anchor too. Anchor is a really great site for podcasts, especially if you're looking to start a podcast yourself. But yeah, otherwise, I'll see you next week. This is the God of Freedom Show. Alrighty, so let's go continue on right here with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. So again, he was there to protect private businesses and to provide medical help. So during the night, he actually got separated off from his group, and then some protesters, or actually rioters, confronted him, and which led to this situation. So here's a media narrative of this situation first. The media narrative was that he shot first. He shot at them first, but that's not the case. From the video, you clearly see is that it was one of the rioters, the protesters, that fired first. Here's a little bit what that looked like.
Them is white boys. Yeah, that's Antifa, man. Oh, he got a gun, baby. Oh, they shooting. Oh, he shot him.
So I can see, when the people chasing the guy, when the rioters shot first at him, or it looks like up in the air actually, but still, they fired the shot. So that, that I guess clicked in Rittenhouse's mind that, okay, this guy's willing to shoot me, so I better shoot back. So, and that guy, I think, ended up getting killed, and which led to this, where he started running, actually was running to turn himself into the cops, who were kind of on the edge of kind of watching what's going on, and which led to this situation. This is the video that was spread all over social media and got all the attention and everything. As you can see, he's running away from the protesters. They're chasing him, and someone has trying to push him down to the ground and beat him up. So someone got shot right there, I think. That guy got shot. Alright, so you can clearly see from this video, from both videos, that this was self-defense. Self-defense all the way. This guy, he was being chased by these people, by a mob of people, pushed to the ground, and then he turned around and shot two other people. One of the other people shot died. Other one was injured. So a total of 3 people were shot, and 2 were killed. So, but of course, the media portrayed him as a white nationalist who was there with the intent to kill people, the intent to kill black people mostly, and which is weird because all the people who were shot and even killed were white people. And so it's ridiculous. And now, of course, President Trump has announced sympathy for this guy right here, and the media is all angry. How dare he's supporting white nationalists? Again, there's no evidence whatsoever that he's a white nationalist. None whatsoever. He was simply there to protect private businesses and provide medical care. That's all. That's the only reason why he was there. Again, you can argue that he shouldn't have been there in the first place. You can argue that, but that doesn't change the fact that obviously this is self-defense. It was so crazy that he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. So you had, in order to be charged with first-degree murder, you had to prove this guy had the intent to kill someone. And again, there's no evidence that he was there with the intent to kill someone. I just showed you a video of him explaining of why he was there. So again, that's not going to fly in a courthouse, or does he know? That's not going to fly at all. He's going to let go of the charges, and it's going to be dropped against him. Go about our day, and rightfully so. Again, this is clearly self-defense. But the media narrative is what continues to drive this nonsense. And at the same time, like I said earlier, they wanted to continue to minimize what's actually going on in these cities. Riots, especially in Portland, for example, had continued for months. For months, it has continued riots every single night. But no one wants to. The mayor there, Mayor Ted Wheeler, doesn't want to do anything about it. Not a thing. He just wants to sit in his house and let people fend for themselves. And if people do fend themselves, they are arrested, not the rioters. It's all crazy nonsense, all crazy. And again, the media wants to continue to minimize what's actually going on. So I'm going to show you a couple of chyrons from CNN about it. So the first one is this is all from last week. And you can see the chyron says, fiery but mostly peaceful protests after police shooting. And literally in the background, cars are burning. Fiery but mostly peaceful? Seriously? The Titanic was a watery but mostly a successful voyage. Seriously. But here's the more of the craziest chyron from CNN. So this was on Wolf Blitzer show. He was talking about kind of what's going on in Kenosha and everything. And here's a little bit what that looked like, and just pay attention to the chyron.
First, let's go to CNN's Omar Jimenez. He's in Kenosha for us. Omar, this incident was captured on video. We want to warn our viewers, the video is graphic, very hard to watch, but set the scene for us. Walk us through what you're learning.
That's right, Wolf. Well, there are a lot of investigations playing out right now trying to figure out what led up to Jacob Blake being shot. But what we do know for sure is that people are angry. They have expressed that anger through.
So did you notice that right there? Notice on the first part of the chyron, it says 8 p.m. curfew ordered after violent protests over police shooting of unarmed black man in Wisconsin. And then you get into towards the end of this clip, and it says 8 p.m. curfew ordered after protests over police shooting of unarmed black man in Wisconsin. So they took out the violent part. So CNN was for once telling the truth, and then the editors there, the headquarters or whatever, was like, no, we cannot allow that. We cannot allow us to tell the truth. Take that off. Take off the violent part. It was just simply protests. It's mostly peaceful. And if you say there's riots, I mean, that's just a figment of imagination. Seriously, there's like several, of quote-unquote journalists or posting pictures from DC, New York, whatever, of outside of where they're standing at, and it looks nice. People are just going about their business and saying, look at this. New York is burning in flames, so much chaos. And you see obviously no chaos to where they're staring at. And so that's their kind of play on the idea that riots are even happening. They're saying, see, I mean, really, riots are not happening at all, according to them. Which is not the case. We've seen video after video, eyewitness after eyewitness, telling us that riots are indeed happening in these cities. And you can ignore all you want, but it is in fact happening. So it is so crazy that the media thinks we're this stupid to fall for their nonsense. Again, we're not. The American people are not going to fall for this nonsense whatsoever, which is why the polls are really, really tight enough for President Trump. I mean, for example, Wisconsin, Michigan, I mean, he's pretty much in the lead in those states right now, which is great news for him. Because people are getting tired of this, tired of the media, tired of Democrats doing nothing whatsoever. The Democrats are doing absolutely nothing. And remember at the DNC, Democrats did not mention the riots once. They did not mention it once in the entire 8 hours of their broadcast. Not once. And we're supposed to pretend that they're the party of decency and honor. It's the same party that supports abortion on demand, socialism, defunding the police, and so on. And so that's why even people in the middle of the road are saying, okay, I don't like Trump's antics, but I'm going to vote for him because I don't want these people to get power. And they're right to think that. And the hypocrisy coming from these people is astonishing. So I mentioned earlier about Nancy Pelosi, her hypocrisy regarding COVID-19 and everything. So, if you recall, hair salons and other things like that are currently closed down. And the reason for this It's because of, COVID-19. Apparently you can't safely cut someone's hair during COVID. Which, again, there are ways you can cut someone's hair and protect yourself and them at the same time. So that never made sense. But this is in California, San Francisco, where nothing is opened, including hair salons and everything. So, video emerged the other day of Nancy Pelosi and a hair salon getting a blow dry and kind of a hair wash or whatever. And I'll play the clip of a year. So you can see in the clip of her, walking through the building with no mask or anything. So, yeah, are we supposed to? But we're supposed to pretend that that's okay. So she's a congresswoman. She's the Speaker of the House, and she can do that. Meanwhile, people are not able to open their businesses. So seriously, apparently in San Francisco, and Los Angeles, and everywhere, they're basically bootleg businesses happening because the government there is not letting them reopen, which is ridiculous. It is rather ridiculous that that's happening. But Nancy Pelosi is one of the people who want to push infinite lockdowns, and she has the audacity to go into the hair salon with no mask or anything, while she tells people to wear a mask everywhere you go, and to get a haircut, while people can't get a hair, go to these businesses themselves, and where they can't work anymore right now. And so, naturally, people got rightly outraged by this, and for her hypocrisy, and then she responded to it. So here is a little bit of her response right here. It is quite astonishing, if I may say so myself.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years many times, and that when they said, well, we're able to accommodate people one person at a time, and that we can set up that time, I trusted that. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Oh, it was a setup. It was a setup, people. She was set up by this hair salon. Except that she wasn't. I mean, she set the appointment up herself and everything. And so, I guess it was the owner that released the video, but it definitely was not a setup. Come on. This is her just avoiding responsibility for her hypocrisy that she's placing right now. She's saying that people cannot go back to work. You cannot go anywhere without wearing a mask. And then she goes into a hair salon without the mask, which will be a big no-no for most people, for regular people. But since she's an elitist as Speaker of the House, that's okay for her. That's probably okay for her. It's just, it's really ridiculous that that's happening. And again, you can see this all over for, again, the protests happening. That's perfectly okay, but you can't, again, go visit your loved one in the hospital. Excuse me. It's really pathetic that it's happening. That is happening right now. Yeah, excuse me. My throat likes to get a little dry after a while talking about this. So, while in the midst of, the protests, everything that's happened in this country right now, seriously, there's the deeper issue going on in terms of the race stuff going on. There is so much focus on race. It is absolutely insane. Martin Luther King Jr. fought, almost with his life, fought with his life, peacefully, by the way, to make it to where, people are not judged by their color of the skin, but the content of the character. That's what he fought for. But today, especially the Democrats are fighting to do the exact opposite. They want to be judged by their, by their skin color and to be treated special depending on their skin color, on their race. It's pathetic. That's not how life's supposed to work. And I'm going to be blunt right here. So, and this is controversial to many people, but I don't care. It is the truth. Your race does not matter. Your race Your color of skin does not matter. That's literally it's a physical attribute of you. It's literally just just your skin, just what you look like. That's all it is. That's all race is. But that should not have any hold on what your personality, your identity, at all. It should not. It simply should not. And people act like the race is the most important thing about you. It's far from it. I mean, seriously, God created us in His image. Created all humans in His image. Do you think He was thinking about color of your skin when He was doing that? No. No, He created us uniquely and individually, despite this color of our skins. That does not matter whatsoever, not one iota. What matters is your character, your identity, and everything. And that's what is so astonishing, that people are just like so much focused on the race stuff. It's really astonishing to me. And it's definitely not anywhere near biblical whatsoever. I mean, God, again, sent Jesus for everyone. As it says in John 16, God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, so that anyone who believes in Him should not perish but have eternal life. And it says anyone in there. Literally anyone who believes in Him. So with that in mind, when you have that mindset that Christ came down for everyone, for anyone who believes in Him, actually, and you accept it and start following Him, your outlook on life becomes completely differently. You stop looking at people you stop looking at people as their race, but as what's in their hearts, what their character is like. And that's how really that's how our lives should work. And Andrew Breitbart once famously said that politics is downstream of culture. And also, culture is downstream of God. So you got God, and we have that at the center of your life. And that's for most people have God as the center of their life. That ultimately affects the culture, and which ultimately affects the politics of the country. But the problem is, over the past few years, we have completely forgotten about that. Besides, society has decided that, God is not important, so we just toss Him aside. And the Christians of this country cowered away in hiding and decided that the culture was not worthy of reaching out to, which is why we lost the culture, and which led to the politics to where we are now. And so when people don't have God in their lives like that, they look to other things to kind of fill that hole. And most people choose materialism or self. And with the self crowd, they want kind of put themselves above others. And most people, and when they fail at something, they want to look to something to blame, which leads us to the whole victimhood thing, where if you look at yourself as a victim, that means you don't claim any responsibility to what you do with your life. It's someone that's trying to tear you down every day. And that's largely based off, really the color of your skin, if you think that. Unfortunately, people, especially black people, have been convinced that they're victims in this country. Again, that doesn't ignore that they were victims, but in 2020, America, that's not really the case anymore. Yes, there's still racists out there, but America is not a racist country. And so, you have an individual agency too. What you do with your life is really up to you. But we look at yourself as a victim and try to blame others for your failures. And really, the reason why they're trying to tear you down is because of your skin. That's what makes everything so miserable. That's why so much anger. Everybody's so angry right now because they're not fulfilled by this notion of being victimhood. So that's why they're so angry, trying to find things to be outraged about, so they can be fulfilled. It's quite sad to see so many miserable people out there, but thankfully there is hope. That's why that's why Jesus came to earth, to die on the cross and be resurrected for anyone who believes in him. There's hope in that. There's hope in you putting your identity in him. You're ultimately fulfilled. You don't have to fill up your life with anything else. Jesus is all you need. So again, this is why I do this. That's why I do the podcast, why I do my blog and everything. It's because of this. People need to know the hope that Jesus brings. It's sad. It's fulfilling. It's joyful. And I want people to know that. People really need to know that. And if people do, this world will be so much better. Alrighty, so what this ultimately leads us to now scripture for the day. So we're continuing on John chapter 18. If I can get to it. So last time we left off, Jesus was arrested and betrayed by Judas. So now we're going to be starting with verse 15. This is Peter's first denial. And we're going to end with verse 27. Right there. So remember, you can follow me along if you want. And now will be the New Living Translation. Okay. There we go. Simon Peter followed Jesus, as did another of disciples. The other disciple was acquainted with the high priest, so he was allowed to enter the high priest's courtyard with Jesus. Peter had to stay outside the gate. Then the disciple who knew the high priest spoke to the woman watching the gate, and she let Peter in. The woman asked Peter, "You're not the one of that man's disciples, are you?" "No," he said, "I am not." Because it was cold, the household servants and the guards had made a charcoal fire. They stood around it and warmed themselves, and Peter stood with them, warming himself. Inside, the high priest began asking Jesus about his followers and what he had been teaching them. Jesus replied, Everyone knows what I teach. I preach regularly in the synagogues and in the temple, where the people gather. I have not spoken in secret. Why are you asking me this question? Ask those who heard me. They know what I said. Then one of the temple guards standing nearby slapped Jesus across his face. Is that the way to answer the high priest? He demanded. Jesus replied, If I said anything wrong, you must prove it. But if I am speaking the truth, why are you beating me? Then Annas bound Jesus and sent him to Caiaphas, the high priest. Excuse me. Take a sip of water real quick. Alright, we're continuing right here. Meanwhile, as Simon Peter was standing by the fire, warming himself, they asked him again, You're not one of his disciples, are you? He denied it, saying, No, I'm not. But one of the household slaves of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, Didn't I see you out there in the olive grove with Jesus? Again, Peter denied it, and immediately a rooster crowed. So we're going to stop there for right now. But here's what's interesting about kind of Peter denying Jesus like that. So this is the same guy who, as you recall, during kind of the miracle of the fish, when he was out there trying to catch fish, but then that's where he met Jesus. He knelt down before Jesus and said, Depart from me, I'm a sinful man. And then Jesus said, Follow me. And all throughout kind of the Gospels, you see Peter kind of want to be Jesus' bodyguard and saying, I'll go everywhere you go. I will protect you wherever you go. But then when it comes to this, where it mattered, like he denied him. It is very interesting, and it's kind of reflective of how Christians kind of are today, in a way. I mean, I'm kind of guilty of this too. I think we all are, where we face kind of a trying issue, especially with the culture we are in right now, where we have the opportunity to pursue the culture and reach out to it. But when ultimately matters, we kind of like cower away and keep our faith hidden away. So we're just as guilty of this as Peter, ultimately. But thankfully, again, with Christ, we are forgiven if we believe in Him. So that's the great hope that lies with Him, with Jesus. Alrighty, so now let's move on to the good stuff and bad stuff of the week. So some good stuff of the week. This was actually this thing called DC Fandom. And it's kind of like a Comic-Con type deal, where kind of they show trailers or whatnot of different DC games, TV shows, and movies. So there's 3 particular trailers for 3 particular movies that I want to show that I watch too, that look really good. And kind of a little disclaimer here, I'm more of a Marvel fan, DC fan. I like Marvel all the way, but I do like DC. In a lot of ways, my favorite DC character is probably it's probably the Flash. The Flash is really underrated, honestly. He's a really cool character if you look, especially if you want kind of. Reason why I say that is I watched the show The Flash on CW, and I really like the character. And of course, Superman is a close second. I mean, how can you not like Superman? He's Superman. Come on. But anyways, the first kind of trailer I want to show is for the movie The Batman. And this is the one with Robert Pattinson. It's not related to the DCEU in any way, with the one with Ben Affleck. It's kind of a different spin-off, or different Batman. But here's the trailer for that movie right here.
From your secret friend.
Underneath the bridge,
Who?
Topper sprung a leak, and the animals I trapped
Having a clue.
all become my pet.
Let's play a game. Just me and you. Any of this mean anything to you?
You're becoming quite a celebrity. Why is he writing to you?
If you are justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye?
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Whoa! This guy's crazy!
You're part of this too. How am I part of it? You'll see.
So yeah, that looks really good. And also, kind of another disclaimer right here. I'm not like a huge Batman fan. I like Batman, but I'm not like a huge fan of him. And I know I'm gonna tick a lot of people off with this statement I'm about to say right now. But I found the Dark Knight trilogy kind of overrated in a way. I'm gonna be. I know I ticked a lot of people off with that, but anyways, still, I think I found it a little overrated. I liked it, but I don't know. I wasn't like, ooh, it's the best Batman ever or whatever. But again, I'm not the hugest fan of Batman in the first place, but I do like him. But with that said, this looks really good. This actually looks really good, and I'm excited to see how Robert Pattinson does this role. I mean, Robert Pattinson is a really great actor, actually. It's just, a lot of people associate him with Twilight. And, I mean, that wasn't really due to the acting. That was more due to the script of the movies or anything. But in other movies, he's actually really good in terms of acting. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out. And really, the trailer looks just fantastic. The music in it was really good, too. So I'm really excited about seeing this movie. Alright, the next trailer is for the movie Wonder Woman 1984, the sequel to the first Wonder Woman. And, the Wonder Woman I actually really did like. I liked the first Wonder Woman movie, really, like, seriously, it was very good. Very good. It was actually way better than Captain Marvel. And that movie had to offer. I still can't believe that they made a Captain Marvel movie before they made a Black Widow movie, who was a more interesting character, to say the least. And plus, Scarlett Johansson's acting is definitely way better than Brie Larson. Brie Larson is very kind of a flat actress, especially in that movie. So I was not impressed with Captain Marvel at all. So, but Wonder Woman is definitely a whole different ball game right here. Gal Gadot is definitely a terrific actress. She nailed that role really well. So, anyways, here's the trailer for the Wonder Woman 1984 movie.
This world is not yet ready for all that you will do. Your time will come, Diana. And everything will be different.
Citizens of the world,
I'm here to change your life.
anything you want, anything you dream of, you can have it.
You look like you saw a ghost. Diana, look at you. It's like not one day has passed.
I don't want to be like anyone. I want to be an apex predator. You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing. Well, now it's my turn. Get used to it.
I've never been one for rules. The answer is always more. The way I fly, they will never find us.
I forgot to tell you.
What?
Radar.
Will they shoot at us?
Barbara, what did you do?
You know, I'm not so keen on this one. I figure you are, but you know what? I'm ready to go.
I think we can do better.
Parachute pants?
Yeah,
Does everybody parachute now?
So that one is another one that looks really good. to watch. So I can't wait to actually see this one. I'm really interested to see how they do kind of Steve Trevor's coming back. So also we saw in the first one, spoiler alert, and we saw him die in the last one. So it'll be very interesting to see what exactly happened. Obviously, it might be something to do with time travel, possibly. This is DC. Time travel is a big thing with DC, so that might be the case. That's my guess in terms of it. So I don't know how he would time travel. Something must have happened in that plane when it exploded. Maybe something with the bombs or something, or maybe a hero, another DC hero came and rescued him somehow and sent him to the future. That's just my guess. That how it happened, because it makes no sense why. Even if he survived, he would have been very old at that point. So either he was frozen like Captain America somehow, or he was sent to the future with time travel. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited to see this movie right here. So a final one is for the Justice League Snyder Cut. So if you recall, the Justice League came out already. And not a lot of people liked it. I personally liked it myself. Did have some problems with it, but I liked it. But not a lot of people didn't really like it at all. And what's very interesting is that, Zack Snyder, who did the Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, he actually filmed this movie too, Justice League. But last minute, I guess Warner Brothers or whatever decided to replace him with Joss Whedon, I believe. I hope I'm not getting his name wrong. I believe it's Joss Whedon. But, he made his cut, and that's the one that got released to the theaters. And again, it didn't really receive much praise. And so now Zack Snyder was successfully able to, begin to release his cut of Justice League. So here's a little bit what that looked like right here.
Now I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. 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 I did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth, I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah.
This guy's probably fought hundreds of thousands of other super beings on the other planets he's destroyed, right? And we have to assume he's won.
I don't care how many demons he's fought and how many hells. He's never fought us. Not us united.
That looks really good. Actually, looks way better than the other Justice League. That looked really good, and like the music kind of fit really well with it. It's really actually a catchy song right there. But yeah, a lot of scenes actually is very different from the Justice League we got. At the beginning you saw, I believe his name is oh no, what's his name? Man, his name slips in mind, but it's a famous DC villain, a very powerful villain, kind of almost like Thanos, but this guy is actually more powerful, a more powerful villain. He's actually one of the more powerful villains of the DC universe. I think actually the Anti-Monitor just beats him, and Anti-Monitor is responsible for the Crisis on Infinite Earths or everything. But again, this one looks really good, and there's a lot of different scenes. You saw kind of Barry saving, I believe that's Iris. I'm pretty sure that's Iris saving her, which is something we didn't see in the other Justice League. Which would be interesting, and to see how like kind of this Iris is compared to kind of Kenneth Patton's Iris. So I'm used to Kenneth Patton's Iris, so I'm kind of see how they compare. Or anything. I do like Grant Gustin's Flash better than Ezra Miller's Flash, but I do like this Flash too. Very interested to see this, and it is on HBO Max only, so I might have to get HBO Max like a free trial or whatever they offer that just to watch this movie. So hopefully they might release it more kind of mainstream too, on demand or whatever. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm really excited to see all three of these movies. I can't wait to see what they look like. Alright, so now let's move on to the bad stuff of the week. So some bad stuff of the week. This actually happened last week. It's very sad actually. Chadwick Boseman, who is famous for his roles as Jackie Robinson in 42, but mostly he's famous for his role as King T'Challa, or aka Black Panther, in the movie Black Panther. He sadly passed away last Friday actually, a week from today. He had back in 2016 he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and has battled it since then, and also it reached stage 4 over time. And what's so kind of crazy about that, that's 2016. That's when he filmed. Civil War is already out, but that's when he filmed Black Panther and both Avengers movies. And again, as we recall, there's a lot of action in those movies. So the fact that he was able to film those movies while suffering from stage 3 cancer like this, really props to him from doing that. And he was a really good dude too. I think he was actually, from what I've seen, he's actually a godly dude too. Like he, did a lot of great things for people. Went to visit people with kids with cancer, did a lot of great things for them, all while he was suffering from cancer himself. And so he died. Thankfully it seemed to be peaceful for the most part. He died with his family, his wife, and everything by his side. So that's a really, really good. It's really kind of heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking kind of watch right there. Kind of got that news last week. So my prayers go out to his family during this time. Everything. So, alrighty. So I'll be back here next week with all the latest. My name is Sean Clinton, and this is the God and Freedom Show. If you enjoyed this episode of the God and Freedom Show, hit that like button and follow the page to get more content. You can also find me on your favorite podcast listening sites like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Thank you for listening or watching.